Hello America, this is Call of Duty Goddess. Today is March 1st, 2016. Chances are if you're watching this video, you love your country and you don't like the direction that it's going. So today I will be comparing the Convention of the States strategy with the Citizens Initiative Article 5 Countermand Amendment Convention. So with those two in mind, let's get together because I think with the passion and courage and wisdom of all the wonderful patriots on both sides of this, we all have one goal in mind, and that is to save our country. So let's figure out the best way for each of us and have a discussion. So let's get started with the Convention of the States. The strategy is, number one, we want to call a convention for a particular subject rather than a particular amendment. Instead of calling a convention for a balanced budget amendment, though we are entirely supportive of such amendment, we want to call a convention for the purpose of limiting the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. Our solution is big enough to solve the problem. Rather than calling a convention for a specific amendment, Citizens for Self-Governance has launched the Convention of the States project to urge state legislatures to properly use Article 5 to call a convention for a particular subject, reducing the power of Washington, D.C. It is important to note that a convention for an individual amendment, for an example, a balanced budget amendment, would be limited to that single idea. Requiring a balanced budget is a great idea that Citizens for Self-Governance fully supports. Congress, however, could comply with a balanced budget amendment by simply raising taxes. We need spending restraints as well. We need restraints on taxation. We need prohibitions against improper federal regulation. We need to stop unfunded mandates. A convention of states needs to be called to ensure that we are able to debate and impose a complete package of restraints on the misuse of power by all branches of the federal government. What sorts of amendments could be passed? The following are examples of amendment topics that could be discussed at a convention of the states: a balanced budget amendment, a redefinition of the General Welfare Clause, a redefinition of the Commerce Clause, a prohibition of using international treaties and law to govern the domestic law of the United States, a limitation on using executive orders and federal regulations, imposing term limits, placing an upper limit on federal taxation, requiring the sunset of all existing federal taxes and supermajority vote to replace them with new, fairer taxes. Of course, these are merely examples of what could be up for discussion. The Convention of States itself would determine which ideas deserve serious consideration, and it will take a majority of votes from the states to formally propose any amendments. The founders gave us a legitimate path to save our liberty by using our state governments to impose binding restraints on the federal government. We must use the power granted to the states in the Constitution. Now, I'm not a legislator, I'm not a lawmaker, but I have common sense, I have kids, I live in this country, and I love this country. Now, when I look at this, and I see all of these things, I see that if a convention of the states is convened, how long do you think it would take? A couple years to do this? This will be so time-consuming that our country could be gone by then. That's my contention. Please comment below if you feel differently. Now, let's go to the Citizens Initiative page and let's find out what they're doing. The Citizen Initiative's Article 5 Countermand Amendment Convention. The Countermand Amendment restores sovereignty in our constitutional republic by providing state legislators countermand and recession authority. Countermand meaning to nullify, to get rid of, to void. Article 5 of the United States Constitution does not allow for a constitutional convention. Its specific purpose is to propose amendments, which mean Article 5 conventions are amendment conventions. The Countermand Amendment does not change any of the provisions in the United States Constitution. It allows the people, through elected state legislatures, to protect the guarantees and rights of the Constitution when the federal government encroaches on states' rights and personal liberties. The amendment affirms and secures sovereignty in our Constitution, nation, and states. It includes an enforcement provision that empowers states to prosecute intentional violators of the amendment in the absence of federal prosecution. With the amendment, states become partners with government, not subjects to federal mandates. State legislatures are America's final arbiters in all constitutional matters. The Countermand Amendment effectively empowers the states to define and apply their unenumerated rights in the 9th and 10th Amendments. Delegates sent to an Article 5 Countermand Amendment Convention are ambassadors of their legislatures, not free agents. They are not equivalent to the framers in purpose or authority. With the delegate resolution, which instructs delegates on how to organize and vote, one vote per state and simple majority, at the convention, the Countermand Amendment can be safely and successfully adjourned within 7 days. Each state will have the right to vote to countermand or to get rid of, displace, to nullify a law set forth by the federal government or any of the bureaus thereof. So, I ask you, if there were an Article 5 convention, what would be easier in your mind? Would it be a Countermand Amendment where you have the legislatures gather together and propose to just have the power to say no to any law in the past, present, or future that is passed by the federal government to say no to? Or would it be better for you to have a convention of the states to where your legislatures are sitting and arguing these things on what they want to do, a balanced budget, a redefinition of general welfare, where they have these proceedings to figure out which one they like best or which ones they like best. Now, why not nip it in the bud and pass a Countermand Amendment, and that gives the states the power to nullify any law, past, present, or future, passed by the federal government or any agency thereof. So think about that. I'm going to leave the links below. You think about that and you tell me what you think, and we need to have a discussion. This is Call of Duty Goddess signing off, and as always, I've got your 6.